Good morning, everyone. It's Friday and a beautiful January 2025. Yours truly, Chuck Ramsey, the Law Dog, is proud to be bringing you the Weekend Big Show, powered by Law Dog Sports. And, man, so much sports going on and so much fun had to be about there. And I tell you, couldn't imagine it's not our first episode in 2025, but it's maybe the best so far. And that's because Jeremy, my good friend, ruler of the airwaves, we get to welcome the third party of the unholy triumvirate, Mr. Cory Hogue from Dave Campbell's Texas Football, formerly of our program. And, man, guys, what a weekend for sports.
Definitely. That game last night, I got to see about 5 minutes of it right at the end. I was kind of hoping it would go into overtime so I'd get some more viewing pleasure. But, man, what a game. I tried to rewatch as much as I could this morning.
Yeah. Cory Hogue.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Cory Hogue, thanks for joining us here, buddy. Great to see you and have you here on the program. We're streaming live on Facebook, and we'll be monitoring your comments on there as well. Cory, you told me in full disclosure you were busy with some D2 basketball last night.
Yeah, Midwestern State was hosting Western New Mexico, and so I watched two very boring basketball games where MSU just ran away with both of them. And but I was listening on the way home in my snowy, slow, icy drive through Wichita Falls.
Yeah, the Wichita Falls general area probably got a lot more than what I got out here in Western Oklahoma. Jeremy, you probably got more in Norman than I did as well.
Oh, we got our share. It was pretty gross out there. It's still pretty gross out there. I had to run outside and grab my work phone out of the truck. I left it out there last night because I was just ready to be home, man.
Oh man,
it's what I gotta say. As much as Wichita Falls takes heat for this, they've done well with the roads. That doesn't mean the drivers are good, but they've done well with the roads.
We're not in snow driving country, Cory.
No. We're not in good driving country in fine weather.
Wichita Falls gives me nightmares on that big looped bridge. It goes from the south loop to I-44 in summertime. I can only imagine just the threat of any ice on that thing.
They have that as clear as it can be. Like those trucks were up there all over last night. And good too, because nobody wants to drive on that crap.
Yeah, because you lose control on that, you could end up inside a downtown building pretty quick.
A downtown building or some attorney's road sign on the side.
Hey, we've already got a Facebook comment. Todd Bruner from Right Radio says, I'm more disappointed in the Irish throwing Michelob Light on the field instead of Guinness. He's got a good point there. What the heck? You're in Florida. Drink, pound of Guinness while you're down there. You're going to burn.
Have you ever tried to drink a few Guinness and actually function in a warm environment?
They're Irish. They're supposed to be able to handle it.
And you're supposed to drink Guinness warm.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, listen, guys, I've got the wrap up here on the game. If you want to hear it real quick, let's tune that in.
Graduate student from Salisbury, North Carolina, to give Notre Dame the lead in the final seconds. 41-yard attempt. Snap and hold are good. The kick is good! They were the worst field goal kicking team in the country in the regular season. Jeter, healthy, recovered from the groin with the help from his dad, Andrew, the chiropractor.
Worst field goal kicking team in the country, Cory. How's Bert Auburn let them take that honor?
I think he's going to try to take it back tonight, to be honest with you. I hope he doesn't have many opportunities.
It makes you worry.
What worries me is when Sark puts his hand on his shoulder pads and starts trying to talk to him.
Don't talk to the kicker. Don't talk to the kicker.
I watched that. I was watching the kick live last night. And, if you believe in a higher power, I think you saw it in action last night. That ball faded right off the foot and then drew right down the middle. I haven't seen a kick like that.
No.
Jeremy's claiming they brought touchdown Jesus to
I think they
Florida.
may have.
Thank the good Lord. Think Pope Francis might have had a little doing in that. 27-24 is the final. Notre Dame advances to the college football championship. Penn State, they fall for their season. James Franklin taking a lot of heat today about 1-15 versus top 5 teams, 13 straight losses. Just cannot win the big one. They had that game, and I watched the first half pretty intently. Then I think I did take a shower in the second half, and then come back and watch the end. But they came out looking like they weren't going to let Notre Dame really do anything that they wanted to. And then you look up at the end of the game and you see that Drew Aller did not complete a pass to a wide receiver.
Yeah, no, Notre Dame shut him down. And then not only did he not complete a pass to a wide receiver, he completed a couple to Notre Dame defensive backs, and that one at the end was egregious. He had no business throwing that ball. And listen, that's not – if I'm James Franklin right there, I'm also trying to move the ball down the field and get to the national championship game. Yeah. I would also hope my quarterback would have a little more sense than just to throw it up under pressure like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he did have those first two wiped out by penalties.
Sure. Pass interference kind of got Penn State down into scoring, where it was almost intercepted, and they called interference, which the rules officials said it was. But, rules officials can only do so much. Todd Bruner, Dan Narva checking in with us, and then Todd Bruner says, I'm sick of hearing his dad is a chiropractor and helped heal his groin. Is the groin part of the spine now? Well, I'll tell you this much. Go ahead.
When I was in high school, I went to a chiropractor for a hamstring issue.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds weird. He just hooked me up to a stem unit, whatever you call it. Tim. Yeah. That's probably what it was.
Maybe. I saw that on Jackass. They hooked up Steve-O to one of those things.
Put it up to 20 and just let it go. You think it was like one of those videos where you see the chiropractor basically rip someone's head off, or the parody videos where they're breaking chairs in half and stretch your neck.
Well, I'll say this. It was an interesting game, even for being, 10-3 at the break, and then Notre Dame comes out and ties it early in the third. But obviously the defenses were giving up, big chunk plays late. Going forward, and, this would be the case for either team. In regards to who they face, Notre Dame, Penn State, whoever had won that game last night, I mean, they're going to – I looked at it last night. Notre Dame's already an 8-point underdog to Ohio State and a 3-point underdog to Texas. And if Texas went out tonight and shellacked Ohio State, that's going to be higher.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Corey?
I don't buy into any of that stuff. I mean, good Lord. But what they got to do, guys,
I don't know. Point spreads?
What is it tonight? Isn't it like 10?
Spreads?
Isn't it 10 tonight?
No, I think it's 6.
Who's
6? That's still high.
Ohio State
favored by 6.
Yeah, so that's really still it's 9 because it's a home field advantage for Texas.
Feinbaum's taking Ohio State. No. Yeah, he is.
Well, Feinbaum, yeah. Anyhow, no, the point spread yesterday, but to have anything close to a touchdown right now between Ohio State and Texas, I think people are putting too much into what the Buckeyes did the last 2 games, and a lot of this in football comes down to motivation. Their first playoff game, they were coming off the loss to Michigan. They were pissed off and motivated. Then they played Oregon. We know what that was about. They were pissed off and motivated. I don't know that they have anything to be motivated about this time. And I think I think Texas will come out and play really well. I don't know that they'll win, but I think they're going to come out and play much better than they did against Arizona State, because I have a feeling there were a lot of not nice conversations when they watched that game tape.
Full disclosure for those who may not be watching the YouTube video or watching this live, Corey is wearing a big orange tee on his head. So
it's a Longhorn. It's the best Longhorns baseball hat ever.
No,
it's the gray one.
Oh, I thought that was Tennessee.
What?
Hey, Corey, you're exactly right. And Dusty Dvorak was on Scott Van Pelt last night saying the exact same thing. If you want bulletin board material, if you want motivation for your team to get them to kind of kick in a gear that they haven't found in the playoffs or really the regular season yet against equal talent, it's this week. It's the point spread. It's the national heads all taking Ohio State. It's all of the talk about Jeremiah Smith and all of that. So, yes, they do have a lot of motivation. I just don't know that they have the quarterback to go out there and get the job done.
Oh, I think Ewers is fine. I do. I mean, is he going to make some bad throws occasionally? Yeah, but it's a college quarterback, man. They look at what Drew Allard made a few bad ones last night, and Notre Dame's quarterback wasn't looking a whole lot better a lot of times. It's just it is what it is. It's going to come down to who makes the fewest mistakes at the end, and also look for those like personal foul penalties, the stupid stuff, the stuff that sets you back, personal fouls and pre-snap penalties that puts you behind the chains. That's the kind of crap you got to watch out for tonight.
I like Texas tonight, Chuck.
We said that last week.
Hey, they're better up front on both sides of the ball. I don't think we're going to see average quarterback play for either team tonight like we saw last night. It's going to be a really good game. If it's tight, though, and Cory knows this, Ewers can give the ball to you.
Yeah.
So,
well, if you get a lead, Ewers can give the ball to you and make it tight, right? Like, I mean,
it's not even the turnovers or the mistakes he makes. It's those lulls in the game where he's just not, on his game. And it's sometimes it's at times where they could be putting some distance, but in the Arizona State game, they're out 14-0, and then they just kind of go into a lull and set it up for a big comeback. But I know that's neither here nor there. It's a past game. There might've been a motivation issue. Who knows? But I just don't think, I don't think he has full scale attention or run of the offense throughout, large chunks of the game. I could be wrong, and he may prove me wrong tonight, but
no, Chuck, you're right. You're 100% right. That when they get a lead, they have a hard time squishing the bug and putting it out of reach. But I don't think that's going to be a problem tonight. I think it's going to be close enough that it probably keeps him engaged throughout most of that. One thing I want to say, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Sidelines Northern Illinois made a Twitter post last night.
Of course they did.
They quote tweeted Notre Dame, and it said, "You've come a long way from our tussle. It's so amazing to see you back on your feet and one step away from immortality. Congratulations, little bro. Go make us proud."
Love the shade. Yeah.
I still don't understand how that happened. I just don't see it.
They overlook, man, look, even in the game, even when you're playing a Northern Illinois and you've got so much more talent, you turn the ball over a bunch, they come in and play the best game they've played all year. Things can happen like that. That's the great part about it. Like, I was at the FCS championship game last Monday night, and Montana State, I walked out of those press conferences last Saturday. I told my wife, I said, she goes, who do you think is going to win? I said, I give the edge to North Dakota State, because Montana State was the better team. They had the better quarterback, everything, but they came in, it was almost like they thought it was a destiny. Whereas North Dakota State's coach come in and he's like, we got to stay level. We got to have our shoulder pads over our ankles. We're going to practice our violent cuts on the grass. And it's like, man, that dude has a plan.
Right? Yeah. And you're exactly right, Cory. And I want to get into that FCS championship a little bit later, because I do have some questions for you. But you're exactly right. It's all about, and Pat Jones on Oklahoma City Sports Radio, former Oklahoma State Cowboy coach Pat Jones, always boils it down. Well, basically, boys, it's about who's going to go out there and block and tackle the best. And he's exactly right. I mean, it's all about going out and laying a hat on somebody. Now, Taft for Texas, he likes to lay the hat up high, and we'll see if that has any factor tonight. But, it's just one of those things. I have said all season long, this is a Texas secondary that can get them a national title.
Yeah.
Now, I guess the thing I would ask is if they do overcome this hurdle, and I still got some things I want to talk about with Notre Dame and Penn State, but something to think about for later is if they do get past Ohio State tonight, will they set themselves up for the typical Texas lull, taking on Notre Dame next week? But anyways, Penn State with 135 receiving yards last night, or passing yards, no completion to a wide receiver. That Notre Dame defense, when you saw what they did against Georgia and then saw what they were able to do last night, I was pretty impressed with the Notre Dame defense. And then also when Riley Leonard, you think about that guy going from Duke to Notre Dame to a college football final. What, Mike Elko probably would have loved to have seen that guy come to College Station with him had he given the chance. But then also, this Notre Dame team is obviously chock full of athletes. I don't know. I mean, I saw a breakdown of the 5 stars. They don't have as many as Ohio State and Texas, but they have a lot of quality athletes. One particularly, the Great House kid who scored a touchdown last night, leaving 2 Penn State defenders on their tuchus. So it could be one of those games where Texas, if they get past tonight, rolls in there a bit overconfident.
Of course, because, if they come out tonight, and especially if they win that by a touchdown or 10 points, there's always that chance Texas could be overconfident. One thing to watch tonight, I'm looking at the Pro Football Focus grades of each team. And Ohio State, they're all even, like across the board. They're pretty even. Ohio State tackles maybe a little bit better, but there's one area where Texas has a giant advantage. Ohio State does not pass block well. Their pass blocking grade this year is 60.9, and Texas has a pass rush grade of 89.4, which you expect from a team at this level. That is something that could play a big factor tonight.
Yeah, and it's like Jeremy said, and I won't repeat you again, but I'm going to, it's who wins up front. It's the line of scrimmage, and that's what it boils down to in every college football playoff.
Every NFL too.
For sure. But, it's just one of those situations where how many times, Jeremy, did we see Lincoln Riley take a team in the playoffs and you think, oh, we got this, our quarterback, we got the skill. And then, Alabama's got a defensive tackle in the backfield before, Kyler Murray even has the snap.
Well, definitely. And the sad, hurtful thing about all that is all 5 of those guys are on NFL rosters right now.
Yeah.
And one of them's the highest paid center in the NFL. But that there's a lot of other issues with what was going on at OU then besides that. Well, they were,
I'm just saying
soft.
That's the playoffs for you. It's whoever goes out and is able to win the line of scrimmage.
And Quinton Williams, that guy, he's in everyone's backfield.
I'm looking at season grades, and excuse me, Ohio State has been very up and down throughout the season with their line play, offensive line, pass block, run block. Obviously, it was really bad against Michigan, but that's not it. They were bad against Oregon the first time. They were bad against Nebraska, Penn State, Northwestern. They did not pass block well. Indiana, they didn't do great. And then against Oregon in the Rose Bowl, their blocking grades were right around 50. It wasn't like they didn't win by blocking. They won by getting it out to their wide receiver.
Well, and I'm sure there's going to be a game plan put in place by Chip Kelly that's going to factor in the great front 7 that Texas throws out there, and then it's a matter of winning those matchups against the Texas secondary. And defensively, Cory, what do you show, as far as the Ohio State front 7 being able to, because we know that Arizona State had a lot of their success in the fact that they were able to stop Texas from running the ball.
Yeah, it's interesting is that Texas' run grade against Arizona State was the worst one of the season.
I believe at 53 yards by Wisner, and then not much else. They graded out a 60.4. You look at Ohio State's run defense; it's really good. It's consistently around the 80s to 85 range each game. It's really going to depend on if Texas got that run blocking figured out. The other thing is this: whatever Arizona State was doing, if Ohio State tries to copy it, hopefully you hope, if you're on the Texas side, that they've looked at what Arizona State did and made the adjustments to that. And if you're Ohio State, you hope they didn't, because you're going to try the same thing. Jim Knowles is the defensive coordinator there for the Buckeyes, formerly of Oklahoma State. And I'm trying to think, he might be the last defensive coordinator for the Pokes that beat Texas. Would it be the 2021 season, I think?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, look, back then they gave Texas fits every year when he was the DC.
Mm-hmm. He's good.
Was he the DC when – no, he was not. Okay.
when they played in the Big 12 championship last year.
At Ohio State.
Yeah, he was gone. So I mean, he's a salty, DC, going to have good game plan. Chip Kelly, Cory. Don't
forget Kwiatkowski though.
That's where I was going. You stole my thunder before I could even utter the question. Thanks a lot. But anyways, talk about the job that guy's done with this defense, not just this season, but over the course.
He is probably the most underrated defensive coordinator in college football. I know that's hard to say at Texas, but seriously, like, you don't hear about Pete Kwiatkowski a lot. You hear about Steve Sarkisian. Sarkisian takes a lot of the media, and I think that's a good thing, and I think part of that is by design. Kwiatkowski's not a guy that wants that media attention. He doesn't care about it. He just likes to coach football. And, man, he has been – the times Texas has won a national title, in my lifetime, really, 07, and that they have a chance. This year, they've had that defensive coordinator that is a stud. And so that begs a little – the other thing, though, guys, what does bother me and concern me is Sark's play calling tonight, because sometimes we blame Ewers for getting tight. And I think at times that's play calling that's getting a little tight as well.
Yeah. And Jeremy, we lived that with Muleshoe.
Yes. The third quarter lulls that lead to an epic comeback and then to a tight game that should have never happened. Yeah, Sark's got a little Muleshoe in him, but I believe in Sark, and I hope and pray. I did pray last night that he will be the next head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. But
first off, that's not nice.
Hey, you're a Cowboys fan. You should be happy about that.
Yeah.
No, they need Deion.
You still get to cover him. And
they want prime.
Listen, it doesn't matter who you have coaching the Cowboys. They're going to stink because the GM doesn't know how to get out the damn way.
That's right. And Prime is too big of a personality to ever be the Cowboys coach while Jerry's living.
Yeah.
See, I don't know.
Cory, on the Kwiatkowski deal one more time, I agree with what you're saying, that Sark is kind of the figurehead and it leaves the DC to be able to go and do his business. But, I mean, anybody that covers Texas football knows that, I mean, you can talk about Quinn Ewers, you can talk about Gunnar Helm, you can talk about, I mean, I'll give them credit. They're on their fourth string running back, right now. But
they started the year on a fourth string.
Exactly. But, I mean, anybody that watches the games and I watching that OU Texas game, it was just – I just went into it after a couple of possessions realizing OU's not going to score. I mean, so this defense, and plus Texas has generally, even in their down years, put together some pretty awesome front sevens. It's always been the back end. And you have to say that through the portal or however they did it, Taft was a walk-on, I think.
Yeah.
They have put together probably, I would put this secondary up against, I would say they have the chance to prove that they're better than the Earl Thomas era or the Quentin Jammer era.
And remember, those eras were really good national teams as well. This might be the best back four since the national championship team. One name I want to throw out there too, an assistant coach that I'm not sure how much I trust this guy. His name's Kyle Flood, the offensive line coach.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that's got to make those adjustments. Now, he's done really well with the O-line most of this season. We'll see how they come out tonight.
Yeah. Also, special teams could come down to it. Bert Auburn could choke away a potential game-winning field goal if it's outside of 30 yards.
If we cut his hair, would that give him power to make it? Or?
Do what?
You think if he looked less like Sideshow Bob from The Simpsons, he'd do a better job?
If we cut his hair, could that help? Like,
don't think
Carrot Top. I mean, I used to say, never mind, I won't go there. That's pretty bad.
Well, the most perplexing thing about that game against Arizona State, Texas couldn't run the ball to save their lives, but Ewers stayed clean all game.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. They shut off the run game, but couldn't get any pressure on the passer.
Yeah, no, they passed
even when they brought
really
like 9 guys.
Yeah, and I'll say this: special teams wise, I'm sure that the pole assassin's husband's going to have a good plan, set up for that.
Oh boy, here we
go. Maybe get the attack monkey down there in the.
Is Gia the monkey still with us?
I don't know if the monkey's still around or not. But no, it's special teams is so important, and they have to go into it thinking, what's this kid going to do in a clutch situation, because. Really had a chance to put away Arizona State, but I don't know. The thing about this game tonight, and as opposed to last night, is probably the hype. And as much as Notre Dame commands attention nationally and Penn State is in the Big Ten, and, we were looking at a situation where, if Texas can't pull this out, this is above the Mason-Dixon line national title game for the first time in – I can't. Maybe my lifetime. I don't know. I mean, definitely in the BCS era, right?
I don't know.
Let's see, BCS era. It's been.
I mean, I can't think of a time where if you're talking Big 12 or SEC, that there hasn't been one of those teams in the championship game. I can't remember a time in the playoff era, of any sort of playoff era, that it's been two northern teams.
No, you're right. Ohio State and Michigan have been the most northern teams in.
Yeah,
I would think. If I remember correctly, I can't.
Miami, Florida State, Texas, OU, Alabama, LSU, Georgia.
Yep.
Auburn.
Yep.
So I mean that's pretty much been the consistency. Sorry,
but not Texas A&M.
Huh?
But not Texas A&M.
No, not
Never
Texas A&M.
And listen, Cory, I'll do you a solid. All right, y'all go ahead and send the pole assassin's husband up here, especially with Gia the monkey. We'll send you Joe John Finley.
Hey, Joe John picked up a John Locke, the tight end from Louisiana Tech. That's which
one reception for 2 yards over 3 seasons.
Which kind of transitions into what we were
a glorified
talking
offensive tackle.
We were talking about. Hey, block, man.
And I read some of his papers from the Middle Ages. So he's quite the author.
Well, John Locke is, isn't he kind of, predecessor of our Constitution?
Magna Carta and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, that stuff. Cory, we were talking about this on our text thread yesterday, going forward, and Jeremy and I follow OU football. You follow a lot of Texas football. Going forward, and with this NIL salary cap, I guess now that the revenue sharing is set up for next season, I just have to wonder, I'd hate to see Colin Cowherd proved right, but I have to wonder, could OU fall into that Nebraska category?
They passed legislation in the state yesterday where the university can directly pay players. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, the revenue sharing stuff. But that's got a cap on it. And I was reading on Yahoo Sports, I think Ross, is it Ballinger or Bell?
Yeah.
Hey, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you forget last year that Michigan-Washington played in the national championship game?
Yes, we totally forgot that, Cory, because we don't care.
Dang
it. Well, you're asking about the Mason-Dixon.
I had one factoid, and it gets blown away.
Yeah, you're 1 year's time.
Right about but see, that's the thing, Cory, with my declining memory. I can remember 2001 much clearer than I can remember 2023.
Well, guys, I went to Google, right? I went to the Google machine.
Well, that was just last year.
You have to realize that
Washington beat Texas in the semi.
They did.
About that.
You have to realize that if I pull up my Chrome Explorer on my computer, we'd all be frozen, or I'd be frozen up, and we'd lose the broadcast. So,
and then before last year, 2014, Ohio State, Oregon.
Yeah, I completely forgot Oregon ever even played in a national title.
Mariota. That was a Marcus.
Yeah. That was at the AT&T Stadium too.
I guess we're so used to Oregon just flaming out before they even get there.
Okay, so 2 times out of 25 years got me.
This is since 2014 when they started more of the playoff.
But I was going back all the way to the beginning of the BCS era. I mean, you factor in 25 years, really 26 if you count 99.
BCS.
It's been a lot of Southern domination, so it could be interesting.
Oh yeah, well, and that's because there's a lot of Southern dominant high school teams too.
For sure. And some of those northern teams been dipping down into the Lone Star State.
Well, everything runs in cycles. Remember, for a hot minute, the Big 12 was the best conference in college football.
Yep. That was
the SEC for a couple decades, and maybe it's going to shift to all that northern money.
But Cory, looking forward on this salary cap issue, and I think Kirby Hocutt's already talked about, they're going to press hard to, these now the NIL collectives have to be a lot more transparent, they say. I'm sure Tito's Vodka and Lamborghini of Austin will find their way to still pay players, six figures. But how are they going to pull this off in the era where, already, Ewers is being talked about leaving Texas for a 6-figure or a 7-figure deal. Michigan's got a 8-figure quarterback. I mean, it's still going to be the craziness, right? Cory?
Did he mute?
I hear it. I see him.
I see him talking. I don't.
All right, I got you.
There he is.
What's different? I mean, they're paying players out in the open now.
Yeah.
But, I can go back and remember Barry Switzer and it also, guys,
Fred Akers. And Fred Akers.
It's very interesting now that they can start paying players.
Don't start that crap.
Fred Akers.
Listen, when everyone was paying everyone under the table, Texas wasn't any good.
Well, look at Alabama this year, right? Now all of a sudden it's out in the open and Alabama's not that great. How did Nick Saban do that, right? Like we don't know what all was happening at that point. It's just now it's supposed to be transparent, and they've made it legal for some of these kids to do it. What's funny about this though is we talk about there can't be any tampering and all this. It's all a bunch of BS with the NCAA.
Tampering all day.
It's all BS because when they say you can go into the portal now with a don't touch designation, right? Like you can't talk to me designation. Like you haven't been tampered with. You don't have a
wink,
deal
wink,
in
nudge,
place.
Nudge. Nobody knows.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, we're visiting with Cory Hogue, our old triumvirate partner here on the program. He, being from Dave Campbell's Texas Football, does a great job covering the lower level schools for Dave Campbell's. Also does a lot of coverage for the D1 in the state of Texas. Keeps an eye on all of it. Cory, you had mentioned the FCS title game on Monday at, Toyota Stadium in Frisco?
Toyota Stadium in Frisco. Man, that was a scene.
I watched the broadcast. I kept looking for you to pop up in a sport coat somewhere,
No, I did not wear a sport coat. It's cold. Look, I don't like the cold. I don't like the snow. I don't like any of this crap. And it was cold. And I was in they're renovating the stadium, as I'm sure they may have mentioned on there. And that's why the game is moving to Nashville for 2 years. Maybe it comes back, maybe it don't. But part of the reason they need to renovate that is because they don't have a press box worth a flip. They have very little seating, and then like they put a lot of us down on the club floor. And when you walk into that club section, because it was so cold that even the North Dakota State and Montana State fans were bundled up in their winter gear. They're all inside there drinking the beer. I could barely get through. Like, this was as crowded a place as I've been in since I went to New York City during Christmas.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of turnout there. And you mentioned how the North Dakota State coach came in. They were, I guess, considered an underdog in that one. Man, North Dakota State's got a lot of experience in that game. I don't know if I would have bet against them if I was putting down money.
Well, there's a lot of interesting things to that because Tim Pulaski's in his first year there, but he's not a stranger to North Dakota. He was there before as an assistant coach when Craig Bowl got that program started and rolling. He came back as a coordinator. He was the coordinator when Wentz was the quarterback under Eck. So he's got a lot of experience there. Plus, every team that he's gone to in the FBS as an assistant coach has made a bowl game. This guy, I mean, he knows how to coach ball. And then the other part of this is Montana State, that North Dakota State's always been that one team they can't get beyond. And it almost felt like they thought this was just that magical year where, the Cinderella rides in, we ride in, and we take the title. That's not how you do it when you face a team like in North Dakota. You got to bring your A game. And I think really the attitude, we saw Montana State play really well in the second half. If they had come out with that focus early on, I think they beat North Dakota State by probably 10 points.
Yeah. Dan Narva checking in on Facebook Live. Jimbo Fisher will tell you all about that pay-for-play stuff in the SEC.
So, Cory, is the Mountain West move for North Dakota State any traction to that, or is that still just?
I don't think so now.
I
think now that Northern Illinois, I think the Mountain West is done right now with movement from what I'm hearing.
Okay.
Dan Narva still need to watch that FCS game. Only got in on it on the fourth quarter. Did Cory go to the D2 game? Ferris State, Dan Narva, our super fan, they won the D2. I imagine you probably watched that on television.
I did not watch the game. I was at the Texas State High School Championships.
Oh, yeah.
On that weekend.
Christmas Eve for Texas football, wasn't it?
Yeah. Like, that's a big weekend. And what games they had there. But I was following mainly because as soon as that game ended and I got the go-ahead, I was waiting to break that story on the head coach of Valdosta going to Prairie View. So I was tracking that game maybe as close as you can without watching.
A day in the life of Cory Hogue. I tell you, there's a lot of football out there.
That's like, guys, honestly, I was at AT&T Stadium for the high school championships. I made sure I had my iPad and my MiFi with me so that when that game ended, I go into the club section, set up, do what I got to do as soon as I get that text message that, hey, he's told the team it's good to publish, put it out. And then, you got the social media posts and everything else. That's the fun part of this job. I write breaking news stories in the club section of AT&T, in a Whataburger, it's on the side of the road. Like you do this stuff anywhere. Last year on New Year's Eve, I had a coach announce he was leaving to go from Houston Christian to Campbell. And I was at a party and I didn't have any way of writing this story. I said, you know what? Never again. And I went and bought an iPad. So now I always have a way to put out breaking news.
Hold the countdown, guys. I've got to go break an Abilene Christian story. Hey, speaking of, I've seen some of your content lately, but man, I tell you, Texas El Paso, they're making a mark to try to improve their game. I saw that they were a top 10 power or group of 5 recruiting class. And then also now through the portal, they've picked up, is it Malachi Nelson?
Yeah. Look, Scotty Walden is a tremendous recruiter. He is, and he's still looking for an offensive coordinator. I'm hearing that that decision could be coming here in the next 2 to 3 days.
Joe John Finley.
Yeah, hey, you can get him on the cheap.
Oh, all I'm going to say is that there's a chance that I'm the one breaking who the offensive coordinator is.
Ooh. You heard it, folks.
We'll see. We'll see how that comes down in the day. And it would be a head coach of a non-FBS program.
Cory Hogue. Breaking news. All right. Hey, speaking of offensive coordinators, New Mexico State, did you see who they went and got, Jeremy?
I did, but it just escaped my mind.
Hair Raid.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember your tweet yesterday. The Hair Raid is back. Yost, yeah. David Yost. That hair was looking brilliant and flowing. In that photo,
he's got quite the locks.
Can I give you the coach I think is going to do the best job there in New Mexico?
I like the kid from Idaho State.
Idaho, yeah, Jason Eck.
Yeah, Idaho. Yeah.
Jason Eck knows how to coach ball. I wanted him to go to Sam Houston, but Sam Houston decided to go with a feel-good choice in Phil Longo.
So Eck had ties with North Dakota?
I'm not sure about his. I know he was at Idaho. I can't remember exactly his background.
I thought you said the name Eck when you were talking about North Dakota State earlier.
Oh no, that was a different Eck. That was or Ints. That was Ints at North Dakota State.
Okay.
Who now is at, I think, USC.
Well, back on our original topic, which we've kind of wormholed this, but going forward in the NIL and the SEC, I mean, when if Texas loses tonight and the SEC doesn't have a horse in the national title game, you have to imagine the money's going to amp up. That's how they answer to everything regarding performance.
No, I don't think the money amps up. I think the rules amp up. I think you no longer, because guys, what you got to look at that. The playoff, the buys, the teams that got buys lost.
Mm-hmm.
And so now what you're going to – and that really is a disadvantage because you got 3 weeks off while somebody's coming in with some momentum and feeling pretty healthy after 2 weeks off. So the buy system is going to change. I think listen, this was never intended for a group of 5 school or Arizona State to come in there and actually be a part of – the playoff more than just like one little game in the beginning. And so the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference are going to ensure that they get the maximum amount of participation in this.
Jeremy? Wouldn't you think, though, like a group of 5 school in Arizona State, Boise and Arizona State playing somebody in that first round on their home field probably would have been a lot more competitive than what we actually got. Well, except for Arizona State, they obviously took Texas a while, but
they won that game.
Your group of 5 school they're not going to compete, right? Year in and year out.
Maybe we should have had Boise State versus Arizona State.
Well, I mean, I don't see why they got to buy.
Because that's what's going to change. The automatic buys for conference champions, they're going to change that so that Boise State and the Arizona States and the Big 12 champions and all that, they're not going to automatically go. And they will have a home game, hopefully. You know, who knows? That might get nixed as well.
Who doesn't want to see a playoff game on the blue turf, right?
Well,
That'd be neat.
Then you got the rattling going on about 16 teams.
If I'm Arizona State and we win the Big 12, which, I mean, it was a kind of a convoluted situation to win. I mean, they won the Big 12 championship, but I mean, there was 6 teams that could have had hand in going to the championship. If I'm Arizona State, you know, I'm feeling pretty good if I'm hosting a first round game and I've got, you know, Southern Methodist coming in. I mean, and that would probably make for a good game. You would just probably end up going, you know, to a bowl the next week and getting trucked by Texas or you know, I mean, I know that's what they're going to shoot to avoid is those TCU situations where they have enough to put it all out there in one round and then not enough to go out and perform in the second round.
Well, see, the thing is, I think the Arizona States and the Boise's are just fine playing one game at home and then getting trucked because they're still getting the money, and that money matters to their program, unlike some of these bigger programs. But real quick, I want to circle back to Jason Eck and his history. He was at Winona State for a couple of years. That's a Division II school up in Minnesota. He was at Montana State and South Dakota State for a little while. So he's got quite a good resume himself.
Well, New Mexico really got blindsided by the Bronco Mendenhall thing, and then I kind of had his offensive coordinator on the radar, you know, seeing what he had done there with the Lobos. But I will say this, you know, New Mexico, they're in the new Mountain West, I think.
Yeah,
they didn't get the call up to the new Pac-12, and so you would have to think that, you know, if this Eck guy goes in there and has success, you know, he probably won't be in Albuquerque long.
Well, they didn't think he'd be in Idaho long. He spent 3 years there, so we'll see. Maybe he gets 3 or 4 years.
3 years isn't very long.
3 years is a long time when you're talking about football. Sometimes
3 years is only long.
Look at Matt Campbell. He's been mentioned for every job under the sun, but he's still at Iowa State.
And now he's been rumored for the Bears?
Yeah, but now he's with the Bears.
Geez, that would be a bad choice for them.
Hey, well, don't worry, Corey. No matter what the Bears do, it'll be a bad choice.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of the Bears and kind of a transition into the NFL playoffs.
Hey, Chuck, before we go NFL, can I say one more thing about Bird Auburn?
Yeah.
I dug into his stats here a little bit when we were talking about him. If he is under 40 yards he is money. He's hit 10 of 11. When he is beyond 40 yards, he is 6 of 14.
Ooh.
Wasn't one of those 10 of 11 in that SEC championship against Georgia?
Where he missed it?
I think he missed one.
That was probably the one miss, yeah.
Yeah. So crunch time. And we talked about this earlier in the program. I just don't think you go up and try to encourage your kicker, and the whole hands on the shoulder pad stuff. But you're right. Speaking of, Cory, picks for tonight, Texas versus Ohio State.
I'm taking Texas to cover.
Texas, what are they, -6?
6,
yes.
Yeah.
I'm talking winner. You got to go out on a limb here, pal.
Yeah, I'm taking Texas to cover.
No, you got to pick a winner.
It's going to be. I think it's going to be a really, really close game. I think we're going to get one about like we had last night. Hopefully, I hope we get a game about that close, especially since I'll be sitting down and watching it. There's just a part of me that says Texas finds a way in this one. I don't know that Ohio State comes in. They've played really well for 2 straight games, but how long can you keep that up? That is hard to do. So I'm going to take Texas, but by like very minimal.
Okay. So Texas, do you have a score prediction?
Ooh, I think we see quite a few points. I think we get around a 38-35, somewhere in that area.
What's the over in this game?
It is.
I think it's 58.5.
53 and a 53 and a hook.
53 and a hook.
So it'll go over that, in my opinion. Way over. I think that's low. Are they really expecting the defenses to be that good tonight?
Especially, considering the horses that Ohio State has on the outside.
Well, Texas is
they're a great secondary.
These teams have some speed on offense, right? Yeah. While the defenses may be good, these offenses are going to move the ball.
They are going to move the ball. These guys are going to. They're going to find guys open. You can't cover everybody, and Ohio State and Texas both have really good receivers. Now, if Texas runs the ball, that might be the great equalizer.
Would you agree with me that this is almost like watching a Kansas City Buffalo game?
I don't know. Is it played on a parking lot in Buffalo in January? That'd be awesome.
Who you got, Jeremy?
I got Texas. I got Sideshow Burt's Revenge, 33-30, last-minute field goal.
Got over.
Okay.
Over.
I'm going to go Ohio State.
Never take the under, Cory, right?
I'm going to go Ohio State probably 38-35, kind of like Cory. It just flipped it.
You never want to root for teams to not score.
Yeah, I've got to go self-flagellate after this for picking the Longhorns.
Michael Busso.
I just don't believe in Ryan Day. I'm sorry, I don't believe in Will.
No, well, that's the thing. And Ryan Day's not a bad coach.
No.
I mean, most schools, if you're making it to the Final Four every year, you're pretty happy.
Yeah.
But if it was Urban, that's a different story. I just don't believe in Ryan Day. He's born on third base, as Harbaugh said. He's not done it in big games. Except for this year.
Well, with
it's
Sark,
like Franklin. It's going to run out.
With Sark,
he is good though with the credit card.
He's good with and you know what? You never see any overrun with the beard dye.
No,
I've never tried to do it, but I'm assuming it's difficult.
He's one heck of a sexy man.
He can't stand next to an open flame.
But with Sark, I have to worry that L'Oreal's going to be there distracting him some form or fashion.
Right now he's working on getting the faux hawk.
Listen, our first lady of Texas football is a tremendous asset to our program.
She's a gold digger.
The pole assassin?
No, L'Oreal, Sark's wife. Aren't they divorced and she's still hawking him?
No, they got back together. No, they separated and we're talking about it. And she's been hanging around now. Like when them sideline chicks go to interview Sark, she's giving them a side eye.
She's got to get her current fashion line in there.
Nice.
Good morning from Michael Busso on Facebook.
Boos.
Thanks, Boos. Dan Narva, I kind of like the idea of some kind of play-in against the big boys. I think that's probably as we mentioned, something for that. Jeff Tanksley says 34-20 Ohio State. Love that one. And then Dan Narva also says Day and Franklin for the consolation.
Hey, I have an idea for the FBS. There's already a 2014 playoff bracket that works well and tends to get the top teams to the national championship every year. It's called the FCS.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Mike Leach already debunked this. Okay.
You go 8 buys, right? The top 8 teams get 1 week off. You can work your bowl games into this stuff, but the part of the problem with it right now, and I think they'll figure this out, it's too much of a break between the end of the regular season or end of conference championship season and the beginning of the playoffs.
We'll do
in that model, Notre Dame would always get that extra week off and get trucked in the first round. Yeah, right.
Don't play in the Big Ten championship. Do away with conference championships.
What do they serve?
They don't serve any purpose. But
no, they do. Money. They serve a money purpose.
Yeah,
that's about it. But hey, a home playoff game will probably bring in more money for each individual institution than having that conference championship game.
Not for the conference, though, Jeremy. No, the conference takes money on those. See,
the conferences need to merge and regionalize, and have a commissar of college football. And
it's coming. It's Nick Saban.
Yep. Oh God. Is that the guy you want?
That's not the guy I want, but that's what they're leaning towards.
Oh
God, no.
Todd Bruner.
God, have you seen what he's done? Him and his son over at North Carolina. If that, oh my goodness.
We don't just sit back, grab the popcorn. His weird kid.
Todd Bruner on Facebook Live said, I would just like to thank Mother Nature for the snow day so we all get to watch the game tonight live. Referencing, I was supposed to be calling a high school basketball tournament yesterday and tonight, and Mother Nature has put a shine on that one. So
I'm a little upset, though.
Yeah.
Because the snow didn't hit hard enough down in DFW. And I don't know if it's because they didn't pray well enough. But see, I thought that Ohio State fans would have to sell their tickets for cheap today. And I'm on StubHub and it's still $273 to get in price. And I was hoping for $30-$35. I call the wife and say, guess what? I'm headed to AT&T.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Not a single flight from Oklahoma City made it to Dallas yesterday. I don't know what's going on up there today, but
no connections from Dayton to Oklahoma City to Dallas.
Right. They got enough snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in 2002, it was the 2003 Fiesta Bowl when Ohio State beat Miami. We're traveling back from Arizona, and man, the Ohio State fans were just flocking on I-40. So they do travel well. One particular tag, Buckeye Bob, he was hawking us through Winslow, Arizona. And let me tell you something, fellas. If you're ever traveling through Winslow, Arizona, and you get pulled over, don't try to make a joke about the Eagles song. They don't find any humor in that whatsoever. Hey, NFL football playoffs begin this weekend on the wild card weekend, and Jeremy has got to be psyched because he gets to not have to watch the Chiefs bite their nails through another close game.
Wow. Yeah, but hey, I get to watch the Steelers and Ravens again tomorrow. That should be some riveting football. Watch Mike Tomlin urinate down his leg again in the playoffs.
9.5-point spread for the Ravens?
Yeah.
The Steelers they stink. They're not a good football team. Russell Wilson,
they haven't been good all year, but they won 10 damn games.
He played 11 stinking games. He got sacked 33 times. And I bet 4 of them were probably on the O-line because he likes to sit back there and pack the football for an hour.
Well, yeah, that's why I'd rather see Justin Fields back there.
Oh, absolutely. Russell Wilson needs to be that guy he was early in his career in Seattle where he would 1-2 take off and run.
Yeah. And then also the Bills 9-point favorites over the Broncos.
That line's too big, man. I think
that's
the Broncos are playing well. Bo Nix might have something there.
Yeah, you know what? Here's one of the things I'd like because some of these guys like Justin Fields, he has the ability at Ohio State. He's got the accuracy, he's got the arm. The Bears ruined him a little, but I don't think he's unsalvageable.
Go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, you have guys in this league that have all the ability in the world. Your Sam Darnolds, your Baker Mayfield, your Justin Fields. Name any quarterback that's been drafted by the Browns, Panthers, Jaguars that has moved on and done something else because they simply made it their way to a competent organization. It's all organizational. That's the same thing that's going to happen to Caleb Williams. He had a decent year his first year, but he's stuck on the Bears, and they're going to make the wrong choice. They're going to hire another defensive guy, and they're going to have a revolving door, an offensive coordinator, and he's never going to be any more than he is right now. And it's a travesty.
Well,
the NFL needs to fix it.
I'll just one caveat to that is, I mean, there seems to be eternal optimism for Justin Herbert, and he's gone through coaches and coordinators, and
he's not a bad quarterback either.
Justin Herbert's still not a finished product, and he is dynamite at times.
But I mean, that's the thing about it is I know that the Chargers they're not, they're nowhere near the Patriots or the Steelers as far as their
and they've never been accused of being a competent organization, but they hired the right guy to run the team.
They've got Jordan Love at the Packers, and they win 11 games. Come on.
Well, but the Packers have always they don't have an owner, they don't have an ego in the seat there.
Yep.
And they draft guys and make them sit and watch. And what have they had for the last 30 years? All pro quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not.
It seems like a pretty simple formula to me, Corey.
Yo, it is. It is. And the ones that can maintain it, like, I mean, yes, Tomlin may not be the greatest, but the man has Super Bowl titles and he makes the playoffs every year. That there's a lot to be said for that. Look at what the Ravens have done under Harbaugh. Look what the Bills have done. A lot of it's organizational. From you have to get alignment from the owner to the GM to the head coach. When you get those three things in line, you're going to be good. And when you look at the franchises that suck right now, but like the Cowboys, right? The Bears.
Hey, the owner and the GM are in alignment in Dallas.
No, they're not. The owner and GM are not in alignment in Dallas. That's the problem. Jerry's got
Jerry
two
might
different
have a split personality.
He's having meltdowns amongst himself. I don't know.
Oh, speaking of Jerry, did you see his cameo on the Landman show?
No.
The man can act.
I saw a clip of that, and I love Billy Bob Thornton, but I mean, I hate to say that I've got a crude, barometer, but man, that some of the
I don't watch any of the Taylor Sheridan shows. I just saw the clip of Jerry and was surprised. I mean, he's always been a BS artist, but he has some chops.
Corey, down there around you, probably not really around you, but definitely south of the red, Houston's bringing in the Chargers and are a 3-point dog at home. Is the book in on C.J. Stroud where teams can shut them down?
Oh, I wouldn't go against the Texans on this one. I think that they're still a few years away, but I think they have the right people in place at quarterback, at head coach, at OC. I think they've got the right alignment up top. Do they win this one? I don't know, but I'm not going to bet against them this week. I'll tell you that.
Yep.
Look, he's a second-year quarterback in a tough league. In the AFC, there's a ton of great quarterbacks. There's a ton of great teams in the AFC, and they're making the playoffs.
Yeah. Sophomore slump is real. I mean, it's
and the sophomore slump still won 11 ball games.
Yeah, and we in baseball with pitchers, and sometimes it's mid-season.
But back to Tomlin, it's not that he's not he's a very good coach, but sometimes you need another voice. It's kind of like when the Eagles canned Andy Reid. Both organizations were better for it, Chiefs and the Eagles.
See, that's not how the Steelers operate, though.
Oh, I know.
They didn't. They never have. There's been 3 head coaches, right? In how many ever years?
Noel, about 50 years.
Noel, Cowher, and then
Tomlin.
They did the same thing with Bill Cowher for a long time, right? Like you felt like it needed a new voice, but they refused to move on from it. They're doing the same with Tomlin. I do appreciate that loyalty though, because that is not found in the NFL.
No, not in the NFL.
But I'll say this: I mean, as much as the Steelers are a well-run franchise and stuff, I mean, since Big Ben left, And really, you could kind of chalk off his last couple of years when the cheeseburgers were really starting to add up. But since Big Ben was in his prime, that's really been the thing. It's quarterback, and we see it with these teams. Kansas City, Buffalo. These teams that are even Cincinnati, who can't field a defense to save their life. They were a week. What is it? I used to call it week 16. Now it's 18, 19.
Week 18.
Their
18.
final week loss, by Kansas City from getting in the playoffs. And Burrow is Burrow, Chase, and Higgins are prime reasons for that. But the Steelers, and I hate to be dedicating this much time to Pittsburgh, but, taking two quarterbacks basically off the scrap heap. And I know Justin Fields has potential, but he has not shown the kind of accuracy that I would feel comfortable with to lead my franchise. They've got to get the quarterback right.
Can I tell you, it's not the quarterback there. I'm a Steelers fan. I grew up a Steelers fan, so I really do follow it. And I'll tell you, Chuck, on the surface, I see where you're coming from, that it feels like it's a quarterback. But the problem with Roethlisberger in the last couple of years, outside the fact that he could only move at about 2.1 miles per hour as opposed to 3.5, was the fact that the offensive line, they used to have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. That offensive line has been putrid for about 6 or 7 years now. And it's not good this year. And until they get that fixed, it doesn't matter what you have at quarterback.
Well,
yeah, we had decades. We had decades where it was just which offense or defensive lineman are the Steelers going to take in the first round. It's not like that anymore.
No. Well, but to speak to that, the coaching aspect of it, I mean, how many of these teams that are playoff teams, and teams that are favored in the playoffs, just kind of patchwork a line together in the offseason. They're not going out and getting now, just Kansas City, for example, when they have a need, they find somebody and they fit in there pretty well. I mean,
when Kansas City has a need, they just move Joe Thuney to where it is.
Whatever the case. I mean, I get what you're saying. And I know running the ball has so much to do with success for these teams. But I mean, I just don't see, to me, in the offseason, and once again, we're still 5 minutes in on the Steelers. We should be talking
you have your
Cowboys.
Steelers fan there. You don't talk about the Chiefs?
Yeah. But I mean, somehow this isn't the quarterback solution that's going to get them to where they want to be.
Russell Wilson is not. Maybe Justin Fields is, but you better protect him in the meantime. And look, running the ball is important, but I also say this, in the NFL, you've got to have an offensive coordinator, some offensive mind there that knows where the weaknesses of the offense is and scheme against it.
Yeah.
Andy Reid does a great job of that. Guys, look, I'm not a Chiefs fan by any means. My daughter loves Taylor Swift, so she's obviously a Chiefs fan now. You're welcome, Jeremy.
Thanks.
But the thing is, you have to respect Andy and what Andy accomplishes everywhere he goes, every season. It does not matter who they lose. They lose. You have questions every year. Tyreek Hill, how are they going to do this? Andy Reid, he knows how to coach to his players. He's a ball coach. And that's what you miss at a lot of these NFL teams, a lot of college teams too.
Yep. All right, guys. NFL playoffs get going this weekend, wild card weekend. A lot of great matchups. I kind of like Green Bay going into I keep wanting to say the Vet, not Lincoln Park Field, but
Lincoln Park Field.
Whatever.
Everything you say to me.
Lincoln Financial.
One step or close
Lincoln
to the
Park.
I like the Packers.
He's
going
dead.
Chester. I'll miss
Ford
you, Chester.
Theater, yeah.
I miss Chester a lot. Green Bay, I like them going into Philly. All this talk about Jalen Hurts and the concussion protocol, and he didn't practice until I think yesterday. I we'll see what happens. All of that going around in the Eagles. It seems like for such a good team as they are, there's just always too much, chatter about so many things with that team.
And it starts with their head coach. He's a bit of a drama queen.
Yeah.
I still like the Eagles this weekend. Jalen's got fresh legs. It's going to be a lot of tush-push going on.
The Eagles are 8-1 at home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Saquon Barkley. Do we forget Saquon Barkley exists?
Hey, guys, also real quick, something to keep an eye on. The favorites in the college football playoff against the spread are 8-1. Overall are 9-0 straight up.
Ooh. How about that?
So that lends well to like Ohio State.
Huh?
That lends well for Ohio State tonight. That the
favorites
are.
Would it be Texas that didn't cover?
Yep.
Probably.
Okay.
It was.
Yeah. All right. NBA basketball action tonight as the Thunder.
They're playing. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it was the matchup of a generation the other night in Cleveland as the Cavs and the Thunder faced off. Tight game until the end, and then the Cavs just had a little too much height and athleticism there late. But Jeremy, you're our huge Thunder fan. I tweeted this out. I thought Cleveland came away looking like they were the team that needed more affirmation from that win than Oklahoma City did.
And I think so. The Thunder hype is huge. I mean, even if the NBA doesn't want to recognize it, those players recognize it. Well, hey, we had and same thing with the Wemby and Jokic matchup on New Year's Eve. Wemby, Jokic, and the Thunder played. Who'd they play?
Orlando or somebody, wasn't
it? One night last week, the Thunder played Boston, and the Spurs played Denver. Neither team was nationally televised. Because
the Thunder doesn't bring in the ratings, right? It's the market size that's going to hurt the Thunder when it comes to that stuff.
Well,
fair
sure,
or
but
not.
They're still playing Boston.
Yeah, no, they're good, but if you had Boston versus the Warriors, that's going to be on national TV, even though the Warriors stink.
Well, I get that, but it's not a way to sell your product. I mean, you got the one team in the West against Boston. You got the two-time MVP Jokic against
Minnesota,
the rising, superstar monster.
They played Minnesota New Year's Eve.
And we're stuck watching the LeBron stumble around on defense and, cherry pick on the other end.
You can't stumble if you're not moving.
That's right. It's like Willie Mays in center field for the Mets.
Yeah.
You talk about born on third base. What about Bronny?
Oh, my goodness. We have beat that poor kid to death. It's not his fault.
No.
But it's a travesty. There's a roster spot for somebody that actually deserves to be there, and there aren't that many good players on the Lakers.
I think they said last week he actually got out and balled out for the South Bay Lakers.
It almost feels
that's
like
where
LeBron
he should be full time.
It almost feels like LeBron's trying to get him to get his own money. Like LeBron ain't got enough to share.
Yeah. Well, he can't travel with them.
You can't have enough money. That's what we find out. And
he should be the starting two on the Akron Zips this year.
Hey guys, going forward, I like the fact that Oklahoma City is doing the things they're doing without the other night they missing two big pieces and Chet Holmgren and what's the other guy's name?
Caruso.
Why do I always want to say Dellavedova?
They're the same archetype.
They're the same guy, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much.
Mavs, though, I think, looking at the West just this early, I would have to say the Mavs kind of have that formula that gives this Thunder team a lot of issues. Some bigs that can run the floor, and then also kind of a gut punching corner three guy.
With Kyrie and Luka missing time, they may end up being that play-in team that gets the 1 seed, and that could be.
Right now, they're
catastrophic.
Yeah, they beat the Lakers the other night. So
Luka's still gimpy, and I think Kyrie's out for a couple of weeks with a lower leg injury.
I mean, they're still fifth, but the question for Mavs is if they're going to play enough defense.
Sure, it always has been.
Yeah, and they will against the Thunder. That's kind of guaranteed.
Of course.
Spurs, I watched them the other night against Milwaukee, and Chris Paul's old.
He really is.
Is he still playing?
Yeah, he played the other night against Milwaukee.
There's not enough vegan cuisine to keep him upright for the whole season.
How many guys in the NBA are past retirement age? Chris Paul, LeBron,
Steph.
Like they're making Social Security money now, aren't they?
Yeah. Is Vince Carter still on a roster?
No, he's studio show for NBA TV.
Speaking of, how about the mothership and their just slaughter of the NBA broadcasts? I mean, Doris Burke, and I love Richard Jefferson as a player. I hate him as a color commentary. But, I mean, we're missing Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy for this.
I'm okay with Doris. I'm not okay with
Doris
Beth
Burke's
Mowens.
pretty good.
She did okay the other night, but Jefferson, Doris is pretty good. She's not Jeff Van Gundy good.
Oh, no. Jeff Van Gundy is an excellent commentator.
Yeah.
I think Mike Breen might be the best play-by-play guy in the NBA.
Yeah, didn't ESPN go ahead and let him go too?
I think so, to TNT or something.
Yeah.
And what are they going to do to that show? Seriously, like, you have the best studio show in the world with Shaq and Kenny and Chuck. And what are you going to do? Like, the bit they had the other night where they broke the board, that was tremendous TV.
I believe they did extend that out for at least one more season.
Yeah, the bit they had the other night
changes hands,
where they dropped a fake alligator on Chuck. That was pretty funny.
When that guy said, when they said something about Jay-Z and he said too soon.
Yeah, that was a tight one. And then Chuck, he's been taking shots at the little guy on Coward's show, who supports China over the state of Iowa.
Oh, and Jason McIntyre?
No, I don't remember his name. He's Chuck was calling him Jason Monroe, and and then that guy called Chuck the Ringless Wonder.
We have breaking news here from the World Wrestling Entertainment.
Oh God.
No. Stone Cold Steve Austin making a comeback?
No, Vince McMahon has reached a deal with the SEC. I'm guessing that's like the communications and not the football conference.
Okay.
Yeah, the security
over sexual misconduct settlements, including $400,000 in fines, $1.3 million in reimbursement.
Yeah, hard to believe that an entity ran by dudes juiced up on roids would have any sort of sexual harassment going on.
That's nuts, isn't it crazy?
Yeah, just who would have thunk it?
By the way, watching the Mr. McMahon series on Netflix was cool.
Well, all those years that Vince wasn't even acting. All those years, he was truly just a scumbag.
No, he was himself. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
No, he actually tried. There was one in that Mr. McMahon that this dude actually tried to have some sort of thing where he had a relationship with Stephanie, and Stephanie was the one that said no. Like, that dude is so darn vile, but hey, we got WWE out of it.
Yeah,
that's true.
And a lot of people
got the attitude era, and that's all that matters.
Hey, speaking of sexual harassment, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this Joy Taylor lawsuit.
Oh boy,
Fox,
for this one.
Fox, the FS1 guy. Somebody put a tweet out, said FS1 stands for Freak Show 1.
That girl brought a lot of joy to the set.
Oh yeah, she did.
Did you see?
Did you hear Jason Whitlock's thing?
I did.
Yeah, I listened to him last night.
Jason. Don't say the word cans in reference to women like that, okay? Don't do that.
Well, last night one that
I'm going to admit it was inappropriate, but I did chuckle.
I saw one last night where he was, he got blasted by Cam Newton, who's got a podcast, and he basically implied that Joy was a sexual degenerate.
It sounds like it.
And any sexual degenerate would sleep with a guy like him, so who knows? I'll say this: as much as I've rattled on the pencil neck guy with the afternoon show on Fox Radio, apparently he is a smart enough guy to just be professional, go home and be Colin Coward, because he came
Colin his credit.
Yeah,
give him his credit. Good for
that's
Coward.
what I told my wife.
Vet move.
I told my wife, I said, he's probably, he's, they played a slip up where he meant to say two cities across from Joy Taylor and uttered the double entendre, or the misstep. But the thing about it is, he may have his thoughts, but he's smart enough to say, I'm not jacking around in the workplace.
No.
There was a picture I saw on Twitter yesterday where she had her arm around him, he had his arm around her, and he had the knuckles. He didn't have the hand.
That's a veteran move by
always
Coward.
clench your fist in a side hug.
Here's what I hope comes of this. I hope that I never, ever, ever have to listen to anyone with the last name of Acho speak on sports again.
Man, I like Sam Acho.
No,
I like
I'm not
Sam.
an Acho fan.
Emmanuel is dirt to me, but Sam's all right.
Sam's better.
Yeah.
He's better.
Yeah.
If it was just him, maybe I could accept, but we got to get rid of Emmanuel. That guy. And to see them going back and finding all these clips where he was saying all this stuff about Joy.
Oh yeah,
and they're going after Oklahoma's on the Skip Bayless and all this.
Yeah,
he got himself $1.5 million. Skip, for real?
Yeah.
Now Whitlock and Stephen A. Smith kind of came to his defense on that, and Stephen A. Smith said he believes Skip is too cheap to even consider $15.
Hey, but you could say all the nice things in the world about Skip, but he did try to out Troy Aikman in his book.
Yeah, and then Whitlock kind of mentioned that Skip has little man syndrome and tries to hang with the big dogs, and that Shannon Sharp might have been in his head, and he was
Skip.
He was throwing
Skip's
alpha male vibes.
Skip has always been trash. He just is. That didn't really surprise me so much. I mean, these guys make, first off, when you're making $20 million a year like McAfee and Stephen A. and these guys, come on, man.
Hey, Cory, you mentioned something about the West Virginia hire of the Oklahoma offensive or defensive coordinator, and I kind of threw out the McAfee effect. You know, when McAfee's on College Game Day, the basketball edition, or maybe it was the day Rich Rod showed up to make his announcement. I have to figure with the money and influence that guy has, that the West Virginia NIL collectives would have, and we saw it play out yesterday with the pay release on Zach Alley and what he's going to get from West Virginia.
Here's what I will tell you, and I'm not going to relate it to West Virginia because I don't know as much about their story, but I do know in the state of Texas, we're seeing the return of SMU. And we're seeing the return of SMU because money is allowed to be paid to players now.
Hell yeah.
They pioneered it, baby.
Yeah.
And listen, you guys, obviously I probably see a little more of this. My timeline, my Elon has my timeline like, to where I see all of this, the billionaire flights everywhere. SMU loads up. And those billionaires, they'll put 4 or 5 billionaires on a plane and fly to State College for the game and then fly back. I don't know if you saw that story. Actually, Craven was on that plane. Like, they flew Mike Craven up to Penn State on the private jet of the billionaire, and there was not enough room at the airport in State College.
Wow.
And so they had to take them to Williamsport and then drive them back up like an hour. All these billionaires are on this rickety old bus that was supposed to take them from the State College airport for like an hour. And then the week before that, in the ACC championship game, when SMU was trying to get the pony to be on the field, it's an NFL stadium at Charlotte, and David Tepper was like, no, I don't want it, and this and that. They ended up, billionaires were calling Lamar Hunt, the Hunt family, they're calling all these people, and they finally said, okay, but it's going to cost you $8,500 to house the horse or whatever, right? The billionaire said, I mean, what's $8,500 when it makes the wife happy?
Yeah. I mean, but back on the NIL stuff, I think you're going to see some of these teams like West Virginia, if they have a big figurehead that has that much media time, it's going to benefit. He's going to work to make sure his alma mater benefits from this situation.
My point is, I don't know how much it will help, because when you're talking one guy with millions versus multiple billionaires at these other schools, I don't know. I think we might see, obviously we're going to see like the Texases get better. You're going to see the Oklahomas are going to come out and start trying to get some of their donors in. But these big money schools, the private schools, especially TCU, maybe not as much, but SMU now, now that it's legal, You're about to see some private schools really start.
And here's another thing, and we've got to start looking to wrap this up. But one more thing is who was Chris Del Conte the AD at Texas when Houston was trying to get in the Big 12?
Oh, I don't think so.
Who was it? Dodds?
Probably.
Okay. Well, regardless, whoever made the decision to not let Houston and SMU in the conference should be kicked, because the thing is, now under this new rule, if you had any idea that NIL was coming, bringing in SMU and Houston would have been a great move and would have kept the Big 12 together with OU and Texas, I believe, and not having to go to the SEC.
That's just wanted to go to the SEC.
Huh?
I think they wanted to go. I think that was the plan all along.
Go.
If they could have brokered it was 2014, 2015 when Herman was at Houston. It was 2016. Houston beat Oklahoma. They went to a New Year's Six Bowl, I believe, in Herman's last year there.
Yeah,
and nobody was looking at SMU at the time. But if you're thinking NIL down the future, where we're going to have to pay these players something, you would have had to have looked at SMU and say, well, look at their boosters. They would be able to do it. A terrible, terrible blunder to not just throw SMU and Houston in then instead of Cincinnati and who was the other one that came in with them?
Cincinnati and Brigham Young, Central Florida.
Yeah.
Well, back in 2016, no one thought, they still didn't think we were ever going to pay players.
So I think you'd have seen it coming. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I think it was still getting blocked by enough people.
Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was paying players. That's why you don't want him to be the commissioner of college football.
Salary's a lot more expensive than Dodge Chargers for all the guys.
Yeah. Hey, guys, we got to get out of here. It's been a lot of fun and a lot of great football going on tonight. It's still kind of snowy and wintry in western Oklahoma where I'm at. Jeremy also. So kick up and watch some football. Corey, what do you got going on tonight?
I'm going to be watching football. It's snowy outside here, too, in good old Wichita Falls.
Yeah, that's for sure. Speaking of, ERCOT let you down this week? You kept
Not yet. Ted Cruz is still in the state, so he hadn't jetted off to Cancun yet. So
wow.
We're good.
Oh, Lord. A little shot there for all of our Republican viewers. So there you go. All right. He's Cory Hogue. He's from Dave Campbell's Texas Football, a former regular member of the Unholy Triumvirate. We've had so much fun over the years visiting with Cory. Brings so much to the show. We appreciate you, bud. Jeremy Schroeder, ruler of the airways. Do you have to go back to work next week?
Sunday.
Dang. Well, do your best to try to catch some football in the NFL up on that. And the Thunder have a big game tonight in Madison Square Garden against the Knicks. That'll be a lot of fun. And then I will someday be able to get on the play-by-play again for Weatherford High School basketball, as they've been meaning to host the Weatherford Classic since yesterday, and the snow has messed that up. They canceled today, so they're doing some rescheduling. So I may be calling high school basketball on Monday night. You never know. But anyways, guys, so much fun. Thanks for joining us, and we'll check up again down the road.
You bet, guys. Thanks for having me, and it's a lot of fun. Now that the off season's here, hopefully I can get on a little bit more.
Yeah,
awesome. Thanks for coming on, Cory.
Yeah, Cory Hogue, Dave Campbell's Texas Football. I'm Chuck Ramsey, the Law Dog. He's Jeremy Schroeder, ruler of the airwaves. Be sure and follow us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, X, and Instagram at Law Dog Sports. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. This video will be uploaded to that, as well as our podcast platforms, Law Dog Sports on SoundCloud, Spotify, Amazon, and Apple. All those links available at lawdogsports.com. Be safe out there. Don't text and drive. And sure, don't drink and drive. And we'll talk to you real soon.